So playing to the click is really important. Having tempo responsibilities are really important, and rhythm clarity. All of that is important, and understanding music to a certain degree. Not that to be a musician you have to understand everything there is to know about music, but I think the more you know, the more options that you have. You still have to have talent to varying degrees to accomplish things, um, and you got to be a cool person to work with. That's like super important. Like, are you cool to be around? Are you cool to talk to on the phone? Are you easy to deal with? Um, all of these things come into play in the world of recording and playing music and performing and those things. So uh, I talked. What did I title this thing? I talked about time signatures. Talking about time signatures. What is time signature, and is it important? Yes, it is. So the story with this thing that I want to talk about, it might be a little bit on the verge of being a rant, but nonetheless, I'll preface it by saying we are all operating within our scope of knowledge on what we do and our approach to doing it, and that all leads to the results of the outcome that we're after or want to have happen. And uh, so I would say that we're all operating within what we know. Now, some people are not coachable. I try to be coachable, um, unless I know for a fact that somebody else is misunderstanding what's happening, or they don't really know what they're talking about. And then so the result of that can be, if somebody can't back up what they're saying, then their next default is to start insulting you. So now they're going to insult their way to making their point, which that puts up barriers to now you're just mad at each other. Um, so yeah, Mark is on here. Let's see what Mark has to say with my fancy readers. My band would drive me crazy. I demand a click BPM to the original or something we agreed to. Then after the song, they would say that seems slow or fast. Yes, and Mark, I've experienced that exact same thing. And the only thing that I can offer you is my experience with that. And if this helps you, awesome. I've told this story before, but I have new people that watch this occasionally. So resharing these stories is not a bad thing. I was on a recording session in LA early, maybe mid 90s ish, somewhere in there. And adrenaline is a big one, huge. That you get the shot of adrenaline in it, and it sometimes takes over your perception of what's really going down. So that can derail you as well. That can make things go really fast. At any rate, so I was on this recording session with a band in LA, and I always thought I had really good time and tempo responsibilities, and I had recorded other stuff prior to that without a click, and fairly successful in doing that. And when I listen back to those recordings now, I can hear where stuff drifts a little bit, but it's not drastic. So I had that in my mind going to this recording session, and just thought, oh yeah, playing to the click will be easy. Having not practiced at all to be able to do so. So it was a major wake up call for me, because the engineer producer who was in charge of the recording session, um, I think it took me about 8 hours to record the first song of 5 that we were doing. And I should have been able to knock out all 5 of those songs in 8 hours or less. And so it took basically a whole day of studio time for me to get it together and record this first song. So he pulled me aside, and me also, when I was playing along, I could swear that the click was getting off and it wasn't me, because I was perfect and the click was wrong, which that's not the correct approach. That's completely backwards. So my ego was getting in the way of that as well, and being embarrassed. There's a certain amount of embarrassment that was in tow with that, if you will. So this guy pulls me aside and says, if it were up to me, I would fire you from this session and hire a studio drummer to play these parts, because you're not getting the job done. And because I was friends with the band and in the band, uh, he was willing to suffer along with me through the session. Now, as we went along, I started to adapt, but man, it was a fight to do that session. So I was told or asked this question: do I want to be a drummer that makes money, or do I want to be a drummer that makes a lot of money? And of course, I want to be a drummer that makes a lot of money. Oh, being a musician that makes money, period, is a good thing. So I said, I want to be a drummer that makes a lot of money. And he said, well, then you need to become friends with the click, with the metronome, because the way the recording world is going now, mind you, this is mid 90s when I'm being told this. So this is crawling up on 30 years ago. And in the world that I work in now, playing to the click is a must. If you can't play to the click, you're not going to get work. If you do get work, it'll be temporary, but you're not really employable to everybody. So learning to play to the click was very, very important. So going back to Mark's experience with the band making claims this is slow or fast, I went to the band and I said, here's what I need to do personally, and I need you guys as a band to agree to this and work with me, because the outcome of the whole thing, the band's going to be sounding much tighter. And we're going to get used to playing these songs to a certain tempo, and then we're going to have consistency in our playing, which will also be great. So Mark, that was the one thing, is that we agreed as a band that this was going to happen, and that I've experienced this too, depending on time of day that you're performing or recording. If you are doing something that's early in the morning, which I've done hundreds of times, you could be a little tired from waking up. You want to get coffee involved in the equation and things like that to wake up and start your day. And so tempos to songs may seem really fast because you're tired, versus in the evening where you're awake and you're amped up, especially if you're playing a show and there's people there to see you. And so you have this, like you said, this adrenaline boost that comes along. And so now your body is running at this faster rate. And so stuff seems slow. So making a commitment as a band so for me, in my situation, when I'm playing live, I'm the only one that hears the click. And everybody I play with trusts me and relies on me to be playing in time and steady and all of that stuff. And also, this conversation go a whole nother direction where, and I've discussed this with some of my students too, who I got them on board with playing the click because they're working drummers, is that the people who claim that playing to the click is mechanical sounding and is forced sounding, they haven't been disciplined enough in learning how to play with the click, And that's important too, like your perception of that. Are you playing with the click or to the click? Because with the click, I've talked about this before too, is that you and the click are moving in the same direction at the same time. Like, if I'm driving a car and there's a passenger with me, we're moving at the same rate. We're going to the same place at the same time. The passenger doesn't decide to arrive late or early because they're feeling different. No, they're arriving at the same time. We're in the same vehicle going the same speed. So that's playing with the click. Playing to the click, I think, is more of a pogo stick thing where time is coming in and kind of like slapping you in the face. I call it like pogo sticking along rather than a point on a circle. So anyway, that whole conversation could go different than what I was intending for today. But Mark, that was what we did, is we committed as a band to be disciplined enough to work through those things. So that became our habit. And then, so if somebody's not feeling well or whatever, they have this trust that I'm not in the right headspace or whatever the case may be, and that they're going to follow or trust this click. And the other advantages of that, not just in the recording process, is that it helps singers a lot, because singers are breathing in and out. And your breathing is going to affect your pitch. It's going to affect your phrasing. It's going to affect your overall performance. And so if a band's used to playing, like, say, the song's clicking along like this, but the adrenaline's up, now you're trying to sing to this, but now you're here, or it's just totally going off the rails, that is frustrating for singers. Guitar players have a certain muscle memory to how they're strumming or picking through what they're playing. And so this whole thing can get out of control really, really easy. So I'm not saying that you have to play to the click live. It's not a bad thing either. And even in rehearsal, it's like everybody committing, because if you're playing to the click live and you're not feeling it, that's on you. That's not on the drummer. You're just having an off night for whatever reason. Your body is feeling a certain way, the adrenaline or whatever, or you're tired. And so then that's trusting your band to be able to help carry you through those moments. So Mark, I hope that helps. And then that eliminates that argument too. Is like, was that fast? Was that slow? Was that? And you don't want to have those meetings on stage either. As somebody who goes and watches a band, it's really uncomfortable for me, and maybe this is because I'm a musician, is when I see a band finish playing a song, and now, like, especially the singer will turn around and look at the drummer, and then there's like finger pointing sometimes, or there's some quick little discussion that's happening, and it's not good, because you could tell just by the facial expressions that, if somebody stumbles playing too, that's another thing, is try not to direct your attention to the things that are going wrong. Let's see, my buddy Peter Jeanette's here, who I love dearly. What a smart man Fred is, best said in a Yoda voice. Well, had I not had coffee, I could probably drum up a Yoda voice for Peter. Let's see. Let's catch up on this, because I do want to talk about... Mary says, and that just proves why it's necessary. Everyone will feel a different tempo, but the click will make you all agree. Aha, boom, right there. Thomas says, hi, Thomas. Brandon says, I wish my guys would agree to play to a click live, and trying to talk them into it. And then Brandon, who is a singer, says absolutely agrees with the singer part of that. Yeah. This goes to some discussions I've had over, like I said, this is episode 72 of Coffee with Fred. some of these subjects keep resurfacing as we go because we're talking about music so often. We've talked about why bands break up. And usually it's over something silly and pretty small and insignificant. I mean, rarely, it's not that it doesn't happen, but rarely is it some major, huge thing that happened. But if you get down to the heart of it, it's usually something simple. And it can be agreeing about what the goal of the band is. And if you haven't been practice playing with the click or anything like that, it's not something that you fix overnight. It is a process that you have to commit to. And so that's why I said to my band is, this is something I need to do. This is something we need to do. And the reasons for doing this is that we're going to be a better band. And who doesn't want to be a better band? I think everybody wants to be a better band. So that's a good goal to have, is to be better. Well, how do you become better? By doing things that make bands better. There's a lot of paths we could choose, a lot of topics we could choose on how to make your band better. So that's one of them, is what do you want to accomplish? And I just treat the click as if it were another instrument in the band. If somebody was on stage smacking a cowbell in perfect time, to me, that's just another instrument in the band, and that's exactly how I look at it. I remember reading a Modern Drummer magazine when I was in high school, and I think it was when Aerosmith's record Permanent Vacation had come out. I'm pretty sure it was Permanent Vacation. And they did this whole, Joey Kramer was on the cover, and they did this whole thing. And even within that article, so this is mid 80s-ish, I think, when Permanent Vacation came out. I might be wrong, but that's what I'm remembering at the moment. If I don't clarify that, somebody will say, well, it came out in 83. I think it was mid 80s. At any rate, Joey Kramer was talking about playing to the click, and he said, look, you have two choices. You can be enemies with the click or friends with it, and being friends with it is not going to let you down. So even Joey Kramer from Aerosmith was saying that all those years ago. So time, to me, is really, really important, and how we count time is also very, very important. Not as important to me personally, but it's important to me in my business being a drum teacher, a drum educator. And so people are coming to me for a lot of different reasons. The biggest reason is they want to play drums. Now, the reason why they want to play drums could be have varying degrees of reasoning. But I do teach a lot of the same stuff to every student, and one of those is keeping time, to play in time. The other is Mark says 87. Thank you. So I'm not off base. Mark, did you know that off the top of your head, or did you have to Google it? Curious. At any rate, thank you. So I'm not crazy. Mid 80s when Permanent Vacation came out. What was I just saying? Blah, blah, blah. My students. So my students are coming to me for a lot of different reasons. And one is because I'm an expert in my field. And expert, short for expertise. Pro drummer being short for your profession. That's what you do for a living. So I'm a professional drummer. I'm a professional drum educator. I'm a professional studio musician, those kinds of things. Mark says, you were 19. You were just ahead of me then there, Mark. So let's get to this time signature thing. What is time signature, and is it important? So I'm on Instagram a couple nights ago, scrolling along through Reels, and Rick Beato pops up. And if you don't know who Rick Beato is and you're a musician, please go find Rick Beato on YouTube. I don't remember how many subscribers he has. It's a tremendous amount, but Not only is Rick Beato extremely well educated in music and music instruction and theory and things like that, he also does a lot of interviews with very famous musicians. So one of his most recent interviews is with Josh Freese, who is now the drummer for Foo Fighters. Recently, Danny Carey, Stuart Copeland, Sting, Andy Summers. So he interviewed everybody from the Police, on and on and on. And he does breakdowns of famous songs and things like that. So Tears for Fears was one he was talking about in the song Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And that's off the album Songs from the Big Chair. I am a musician drummer who appreciates a lot of different styles of music. When I was younger, I didn't really care for country music. It just wasn't my thing. Nothing against it. And I was never on board with rap, but I did like rock and hard rock and metal. But I also liked more pop synthy stuff. So I appreciated all of that stuff. So I think just early on I had a really good education of different styles of music, and not only that, I had really great drum teachers myself. So going back to Rick Beato, who was extremely well educated, was talking about Everybody Wants to Rule the World and the genius of the songwriting, the chord structures, the chords they chose, and all of these kind of things. And one big debate among drummers is how to play the drums to Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And I think they're really great discussions, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. I think Tears for Fears has had 4 or 5 different drummers, and all of them have played that song slightly different. Now, how do we count the time signature for Everybody Wants to Rule the World? I have always counted it in 4/4. Well, first of all, what does the time signature mean? You have a top number and a bottom number. If you don't know, let me tell you. The top number, and this is very easy to remember, the top number is going to tell you how many beats are in a measure, and the bottom number is going to tell you the value of that beat, or how long that beat gets played for. So in 4/4, which is referred to often as common time or straight time, is counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Most music we listen to is in 4/4. Like I said, it's common. So you have 4/4. What does that mean? There's 4 beats in the measure, and the quarter note gets the beat, or the value of that is a quarter note. So 4/4. You got 4 quarter notes within a measure. Well, then what happens after that? How we subdivide those beats, how we take each beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Are we breaking it up? And if so, how? And what's the rhythm contained within that? So if the first subdivision of that quarter note would be eighth notes. So now we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we put another hit, not a beat, we put another hit within the same beat. So now we have 2. So your first cutting in half of a quarter note is now we have eighth notes. Now, if you want to cut those in half again, you have 16th notes, which we're all pretty familiar with hearing. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So we just took this measure and we divided it up into 16 equal parts. That's if we play all 16th notes through that. Or maybe that's the subdivision. Maybe there's 8th notes with 16th notes and so on. Well, what if you divide those beats up into groups of 3? Okay, great. So now we call that a triplet. And how we count triplets, that's a debate too. It seems like nothing is really standardized in some of this counting. So going back to 4/4, if we take 1 quarter note and we divide it equally into 3, we have what are called 8th note triplets. And that's what the song Everybody Wants to Rule the World is based off of, 8th note triplets. Well, how do you count that? And the other subdivision of that is to 16th note triplets. That means each eighth note is divided into 3 16th notes. So you have 6 16th notes per beat in 4/4. And there's other time signatures. 3/4 would be more where you would hear like a waltz type pattern. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 ba, 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 ba. You know, that's a pretty typical waltzy feel. So anyway, going back, we're just going to try to stay specific to this everybody wants to rule the world conversation here that was going down on Rick Beato's video. So when Rick brought up everybody wants to rule the world and he's starting to count, he says it's got a triplet feel, but it's in 4/4 time. Well, that started this whole argument of, especially among drummers who were watching this video, who wanted to say, no, it's in 12/8. Okay, what does that mean? 12/8. Okay, I just told you earlier, how do you figure out a time signature? The top number is what? The top number is how many beats are in the measure. That means there's now 12 beats in the measure, and the eighth note gets the beat. Okay. So, Mary, that's hilarious. You don't count it, son. You play it. It's from 16 Candles, if anybody is wondering. You don't spell it, son. You eat it. 12/8. Well, how do you count 12/8? If you count 4/4, you say 1, 2, 3, 4. If you count 6/8, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how do you count 12/8? Do you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? No. That is a lot to say, especially on something that's more up-tempo. So this big debate started on Rick Beato's video on, is everybody wants to rule the world in 4 or is it 12/8? Well, to me, they're kind of one and the same. So I started researching to make sure I knew what I was talking about, that I wasn't nuts. It's like going crazy when you're already nuts. So you can, so everybody that I looked at YouTube-wise, even who were doctors in music, they said 12/8. How do you count that? None of them said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They said it's 4 groupings of 3, and that you could count it in 4/4 time, which means that each beat is an eighth note triplet. Well, okay, now how do we count eighth note triplets? I was taught from my drum teachers at a young age to count triplets this way: 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. That was what was drilled in my head, and I was also told not to confuse it with 16th note partials, which means you have an eighth note followed by 2 16th notes. The E is missing. So that would be 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a, because now we're counting 16th note partials, not straight eighth notes. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Another way that you can count triplets is to say 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. But to me, that's more difficult to say. And you know, I always tell my students, if you can say it, you can play it. So we want to speak rhythmically how we're going to play. And a lot of drum teachers will say something to the effect of follow your voice. So when we play quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, that's easy. How do you play eighth notes? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just playing, following your voice. How do you play 16th notes? 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E. And just follow your voice. Everything you say, you hit. So then you can break up these rhythms and say what those rhythms are. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. But triplets, you want to say something that's easy to say in groupings of 3 equally spaced hits. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. I have also explained that you could add an extra syllable to triplet, because triplet is a 2-syllable word. So if you say triplet, and which the producer just weighed in saying that at the same time, triplet, 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 triplet. But you say triplet, 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 then where's the beat of that? If I just start saying triplet, 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 how many have I done? I don't know where I am. And there's some people that will say 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. And James, who is a very smart man, says, yes, well, I was coming to that one too. The other way of counting triplets is to say 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly. I hear that a lot from my younger students who are like in elementary school, and they take these little music singing classes and they learn how ti, ta, ta, and things like that. And the one that they come in saying is 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly. And that's a pretty standard way to be taught how to count triplets as well. I find that my tongue gets in the way. I feel like my mouth is full of words when I try to say 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly. I feel like I'm swallowing my tongue. So I want to say something that's shorter and articulate. So if you say 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3, it's very short. It's very easy to say, and that's what I teach. I've talked about Peter Magadini before, and I met Peter Magadini in November of 20, and then he gave me this book, How to Play the Drum Set. Peter Magadini, a world-class drum educator and drummer, and kind of the authority on polyrhythms. So when I met him and he came over here, one of his first questions for me was, and he kind of crossed his arms, he says, how do you teach how to count triplets? And I say, I count them as 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, and he high-fived me and said, great, we can be friends. Because that's exactly how Peter Magadini also teaches how to count triplets. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. All right, so there's my basis for counting 12/8. So 12/8, for those who understand how to read music and stuff, when you write out 12/8 notes, they're written in groups of 3, but they don't have a 3 written above them like they do in 4/4. So I have this. Where are you? I have Rick Stojak's book number 4 here, and this is all about triplet grooves, mastering triplet grooves. All right, so this is all written in 4/4. If you guys can see this, I'm going to point to this one. You'll see, where am I? Okay, because I'm backwards. You can see the hi-hat markings here. These are in groups of 3, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, right? So you see 3s written above that, indicating that those are 8th note triplets. In 12/8, they would have a tempo marking over here of 12/8. They would still write this, but they wouldn't have 3s above each grouping. So you'd count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know anybody who counts up to 12 like that over and over and over. And all the videos I watched on YouTube, like I said, people with doctorates in music schools, all explain 12/8 as basically 4/4 and a triplet feel. Now, maybe in music scoring, you're talking about horns and things like that. Writing a 3 above every grouping of 3 probably gets messy. And so that's one of the biggest reasons why they would just count that. They would say that's in 12/8. But it's still pulsing 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So on goes this debate on Rick Beato's video on, is everybody wants to rule the world, is it in 12/8 Or is it 4/4? The thing that blew my mind was people who said it was in 6/4, which it's not. What's 6/4? Like I said earlier, twice now, the top number is how many beats are in the measure. The bottom number is the value of that beat. So Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. No. To me, it's all about where beat 1 is happening. One thing I do with my students, especially the ones who are learning songs, is knowing where they're going to start playing, where they're going to come in. Gary. So I will just start the song in a random place, and I'll give them a moment, and I said, as soon as you know where 1 is, raise your hand. And so they'll be listening, and then they'll identify where 1 is. I think that's really important to know where 1 is, or to figure it out. If you guys ever turn on the radio in the car and the song comes on and it's like halfway through a beat, and so you're starting to count beat 1 where 3 would normally be. And so for me, sometimes it's hard to get my brain to unlock for a minute and adjust that extra 2 beats to get onto where the 1 is. So Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It has this shuffle type feel rather to it, but it's all triplet bass: 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Now we could get in a long discussion about how to play that drum beat exactly, but it's in 4. Now you can look up on the internet the drum transcription to Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and you will find everything under the sun. You will find a lot of it written in 4/4. You'll find a lot of it written in 12/8. You'll find a lot of it written in 6/8. Be careful where your sources are to begin with. These other guys that were weighing in on Rick Beato's video said it starts in 6/8 and then goes to 12/8. Well, what does that mean? It simply means there's a pickup into beat 1. So the pickup into beat 1 is 3 and 4 and a 3 and 4 and a 1, 3 and 4 and a 1. So 1, 2, 3 and a 4 and a 1. We're not counting this 3 and a 4 and as 1 and a 2 and a, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, please don't count that way. So they're considering this pickup, these 2 beat pickup, as a 6/8 measure going into 12/8. It should just be, it starts on beat 3. That's how I'm counting it, and that's how I'm having students count it as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. What? No, I was at 6/8. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. See, I talked myself into a bad situation there. So people can't seem to have these discussions on the internet without somebody getting frustrated. Then they start insulting you and calling you names, which I'm not the only one that this happened to, because there was a lot of drummers that were very demanding that this song is in 4/4 versus people who were demanding it was in 12/8. Others who were, if they were standing next to you, would want to be in a fist fight with you and say that it's in 6/8, and then people who said it was in 3/4. This total mess. So like I said when I first started saying this whole thing, is that people are operating within the parameters of their scope of knowledge. And so you can't necessarily fault them for that, but it's this unwillingness to be coachable. Now, just because I have a sick curiosity sometimes when people are starting to make such claims like they're an authority in what they're saying, I'm like, okay, let's research this person just a little bit and see what they're involved with. So if somebody wanted to really argue the point that it's in 12/8, I guess theoretically you could say that it is, because there's 12 eighth notes that are happening within a measure. But I'm not pulsing every eighth note, and I'm not counting 1, 4, 7, 10, 1, 4. I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, because nobody's going to count 1, 4, 7, 10. At least I'm not going to. If you can do that, awesome. But I'm not that guy. So on and on it goes. So I then people who want to really argue this point, I'll go and look to see how involved they are in music. Some of them have zero posters, anything to do with music whatsoever. Does that mean that they're not involved with music? No, not necessarily. But typically musicians who claim to be professional musicians at least have some picture with them with their instrument and maybe a video of them playing something somewhere. More often than not, though, these people who want to just fight and argue so bad, you can find tons of videos of them playing, and they're people who need work in their choice of instrument, you know. But at the same rate, I think anybody posting stuff out there, putting themselves out there, there's good for them, even if it's not great. At least they're putting it out there. I see a lot of amazing drum educators posting videos out there, and then other drummers who want to argue with them over what they're doing or how. Another one that surfaces frequently is talking about Bonham triplets, and I personally play Bonham triplets right left kick. Technically, Bonham played left right kick, so they get all hung up on the sticking. It could be the exact same order of the drums, the exact same tones, but they'll say those aren't Bonham triplets because the sticking's not the same. Really, if you had your eyes closed and you heard them, you would assume that my sticking is the same as John Bonham's. I don't know. It's good to practice them the other way too. I'm not saying don't, but it's these little details that people get hung up on, and then they want to argue with them, and then they don't have anything really, any basis to back up their argument except to start calling you names. And in my experience, that's never won anybody over, is to start name calling and insulting people. So is it in 12/8 or is it in 4/4? Let's argue about that. I'm going to say 4/4, and I'm going to count triplets as 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Is 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly wrong? No, it's not. To me personally, it's just more. It's more to fill your mouth with. James says nobody knew that till videos came out. Yeah, you're absolutely right, James. And James is, I think, very similar to me in, we fell in love with drums and we became obsessed with drums and drumming. And we've lived our entire lives dedicated to this instrument. Now, James, I would say, is way more geeky than I am, because James knows about so many different manufacturers of drums and woods, and I haven't dove that deep in, but nonetheless, you would hear a song on the radio and you'd just be, oh man, that is so great, and you'd go get the record or the tape or the CD eventually, and you would spend absurd amount of hours trying to figure out what these drummers were doing based on just listening to what you hear. You can hear a hi-hat, you go, okay, that's the hi-hat. You can hear tom fills, high to low, low to high, different combinations of those, crash cymbals, blah, blah, blah. Listen to the kick drum pattern and all that. I remember sitting up with my cassette recorder, and I would be waiting and waiting and waiting for a certain song to come on, and then I would record it, and of course the DJ would be talking over the first 8 seconds of the song. You're like, shut up! I want to hear this song. And then you would go back and you would rewind certain parts over and over and over, and I'd take the little 3-band equalizer and I would boost the low end so I could hear the kick drum a little bit better, or then I would boost the high end and cut everything else so I could hear the high. We would figure it out. Sticking aside, we would figure out how to get around this instrument and emulate what we were hearing. So yeah, James is 100% on point. When people talk about Bonham triplets, oh, he played it left, right, kick. Yeah, you didn't know that until you saw the video of him actually doing it. Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. Yep, drum lingo. Gary, I think that the younger generation doesn't know who Pat Boone, Debbie Boone is. Mark says there was a video of someone playing different time signatures over Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Yeah, they'll play it in 4 and then they'll play it in 6. That just I have a hard. There's a bunch of guys that have done that and gals too. There was like an Everybody Wants to Rule the World challenge that was floating around 6-8 months ago. El Estrapario did it as well. But I'm pretty sure they're changing it into a 6/4 feel, if I remember correctly. So they're losing the triplet pulse in that they're playing square over the top of it. It's interesting for a moment, but my ears disagree with hearing that so badly. I just shut it off. And I think there's some talent probably involved with that too, to just play it straight and lose that triplet feel, and then displacing where that snare drum's hitting too. So yeah. All right, guys, I could keep talking and talking and talking, but I am realizing it's after 8 o'clock, and I got to get Jude to the bus stop, and then Mary and I are taking Christian out for breakfast for his birthday, and then we're going to get moving along with the music stuff. So thanks for hanging. There we go. I'm going to... yes, Mark says I agree, but difficult. Yeah, 100%. I haven't tried it myself, Mark. I guess I just haven't been that interested in it doing it, but I have had students also that walk in the door and said the same thing, like, have you seen these guys doing this over this song? Yeah. James, I will relay that message to Christian. I'll go see him here in a moment, and look forward to the next time you and I get to hang out, James, and it's always a good time. And of course we'll go to Three Wood Pizza down the street. I like putting in a good word for Drummers Education Connection. Their show is on at 11 o'clock Pacific time. Today they will have the drummer from the Steve Miller Band will be interviewed. And then next week they're going to be interviewing Walfredo Reyes Jr. from the band Chicago. And I helped set that one up because I saw Walfredo here about 2 weeks ago-ish now, and I was telling him about Drummers Education. He said, well, pass my phone number along. So he gave me his phone number, and I passed it along. So now he's going to be on the show. That's going to be cool stuff. Anyway, have an awesome day. If you guys know anybody that wants to take drum lessons, please send them my way. I know that many of you do already. That's really cool. And then my online teaching is launching very soon. The new equipment showing up this week, so we're really, really close, and that's going to be cool to be able to do that. So have an awesome day, and be cool, my babies. Nighty night.